So now I want to give the other two panelists equal time. And I'd like Suhas to address the rise of the fabless semiconductor industry business model and why that was based on EDA/CAD tools. Then I'm going to ask Art to comment on a whole new industry that no one could envision in the 70s, the EDA off-the-shelf software tools for design industry. So Suhas, do you want to come up here? Go ahead.
You know, as the complexity increased, it was clear that the design had to be done by those who understood what was to be designed, namely the system. And the semiconductor, process technology was getting mature. Okay? Not perfect, but very mature. So having fab did not necessarily mean you could be making something and selling. So the challenge has shifted to system engineers. And the revolution that took place, namely fabless revolution, essentially is a transition as to who designs the chip. Okay? It is really the system designer designing and fabs becoming very stable. The bridging of this thing, the enabling of this thing was made possible by design tools, namely EDA. So EDA provided the ability to engineers who knew nothing about the intricate physics or the design rules, and yet they were able to design chips. The tools made it possible. And once that became possible, it was possible to go do deals with fabrication places. For example, I made a deal with General Instrument fab, and later on with Atari fab, then with Sharp, Sanyo. We had a dozen different fabs. Okay? And some of the technologies, like ours, because they were compiled GTS files, meaning the final pictures from which masks were made, we could get ready for a fab in, what we would say 30 days or so. And then any design we had, we could target it to any fab, because that time TSMC was not there. We had to worry about not getting wafers. Okay? So essentially, the shift occurred, that allowed one to invest in the IP of the design, okay? And tools allowed you the ability to survive, with having to source your product from more than one fab. And that's how fabless semiconductor model.
Can you comment, besides Cirrus Logic, wasn't there also chips and technology and Xilinx?
Yes, so let me...
Comment about those.
So all of these companies, came about in the early years of 80s. Okay? Actually, with one exception, what was it? Zilog was, okay? And Zilog did not initially have their own fab, but they ended up having... Right. And here it is, Chips and Tech, Altera, Xilinx, they all were based on a fabless model. Okay? And
but they all had their own tools.
They all were forced to have tools because tools had not quite come up. Cadence was not quite there. There were two companies, Solomon Design Automation and ECAT, but they provided only, and all of the companies built simulators. Okay? I was surprised. I thought maybe Chips and Tech didn't, and I talked to one of the founding engineers. Says, "Oh no, when we got going, we did the low-level stuff the same way as the semiconductor guys, but we did place and route, and we did use other people's tool." So that was my story was same way, and so was LSI Logic had, it also started out without fab. They started with,
Right, but they were focused more on gate arrays.
but nevertheless they had the tools. So whether it is gate array or standard cell or SLA or silicon compiler, all of these things, okay? The tools were necessary, and these companies couldn't wait. And then finally the ECAD industry, caught up, and these guys got out of, that business.
Okay, thank you very much.